fuck with the call.
Yeah, just go busy. You're like, I'm busy,
Um,
motherfuckers.
I just did change myself to invisible.
Oh wow.
Oh, hello.
Eh,
I'm gonna do that.
I'm just gonna set myself to busy. Usually people don't bother me when I'm busy. So
All right, that's cool. That's cool. I'm going to go invisible because invisible.
Yep.
throw on that switch, man. Throw on that switch. Stealth.
I was referring to the end, but you know. Okay, are we ready?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Believe
Right,
so.
right. This is MCAST. I'm Kochihai Ichihara here with Retzel Feinschmecker, the appreciator of Star Saber. Ass of M if you're nasty. And Keltane. Introduce yourselves, boys.
Oh, hi. I'm the appreciator of Star Saber, or if you know me on him, I'm the Ash of him. Pleasure to meet everybody.
This is your resident mysterious gourmet talking. A pleasure to meet you all.
And I'm Keltane. I am going to be playing the role of the everyman, as the subject matter of this overall cast seems to be stuff that I know near to nothing about. So if you aren't sure what's going on, don't worry, I'm not sure either.
And I'm Kochihai Ichihara, who's always sure of everything, as far as you know. Right, so, on deck for today, we've taken care of the first bit. We've introduced ourselves to the unwary internet. And we're going to talk about this new figure that Ass here got, a little something called Mike Gine.
Yes.
We're going to talk about Bandai and some of their various forms of conduct in recent days, as well as in the past, that have both offended some people and a few things that we can kind of still think they're cool for. We're going to talk about Gundam Age, which is sort of in the winding down phase as we speak. And we're going to wrap things up tonight with Kamen Rider Fourze, which is going to be a little something that it just finished. Kamen Rider Fourze just finished, and we're gonna talk about how we all felt about it, and that's what we got. So let's get started with the new
Before we
arrival.
start,
What?
Before we start, you should mention that the retrospective will have possible spoilers for anybody that has yet to see this series. So just throw that out there.
This is true. This is true, as is usually the case whenever we go over an entire series that has just ended. All right.
But,
so
yes,
before we get there, let's talk about this new arrival that you got.
Oh yes, Super Robot Chigoken Might Gain. I gotta say, when I got him was it Wednesday? One of my stream days. I really wanted to get him out of the box as quickly as possible. I mean, just the box for the toy is better looking than all the other Super Robot Chigoken boxes I have seen or owned. Which I only own one of the Super Robot Chigoken, and that's Mazinger Z. But anyway, nobody cares about the effing box, so I'm just gonna get on to the meat and potatoes, the toy. And what makes the toy just so great is that everything about it is just completely accurate to the TV series. Whether it's from the the arms, the body, the legs, everything. It's great. And I will say this toy, this Super Robot Chigoken figure is extremely busy.
Busy.
Busy?
Busy.
As in cluttered with like the number of pieces that it actually has movable, or?
Yes. Yes, Kel is right. This thing is incredible. What I can say this is that the arms itself, the shoulders are kind of basic, move around shoulders with ball joints. The shoulder panels go up and down, which, like, what they call the trains in Japan? Shinkansen? Shinkansen, thank you. They look exactly like they should do in the series. What's amazing about the arms in this toy is that, let me count them up. There's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 points of articulation in the arm alone. This is amazing. This makes my Robot Chigoken Mazinger Z looked like a bitch.
Wow.
Yes.
For anything to make anything related to Mazinger look like a bitch. That's saying something.
Indeed.
Yes, that's certainly impressive.
Now, what makes the arm so impressive is it has a bicep swivel, it has a forearm swivel, and not only does it has two elbow joints, a normal elbow joint, and an elbow joint in the forearm, so you can really just go crazy with the poses. And if you already own one, then you probably want to be doing the his finishing move, the Ichimonji Dorinken, which you can pull that off the finishing strike extremely well. But the only problem is that you actually can't do it where he's holding up the sword properly and stuff because of the hands and the arms and whatnot. But anyway, the what makes it also amazing is that there is a wrist swivel at the end of the arm where the red pieces are, and you can just twist it back and give it like 180 on both sides, and then on down to the arm. I'm sorry, I got a bit of a thing. On down the arm, it has two ball jointed wrists. One ball joint in the wrist swivel that attaches to a second joint that is a ball joint that attaches to the hand, and it's just, oh my god, it's amazing. And the head is, you can move it all around. It's normal, like up and down, left and right, all around, 360 shit. And the upper torso, which really doesn't seem like anything, but then when you pull up the torso, you can move the body back, like forward, down, and you can move it all the way back, and you can get, like, Real Techs have that, that whole pelvic woo pose.
Sort of, yeah.
I have no idea.
Somebody should link Keltane one of the Real Tech and show the pelvic woo pose.
Yeah, I guess that's something we should clear up right about now, is that S here is really, really big into the figures. Kelton and Retzel not so much. I myself, well, not so much either. I'm mostly big into Gunpla, which that's the actual plastic models where you they're sort of like airplanes, but they're giant robots instead. But y'all get the idea. So, The real expert here on the figures would be Ass.
Totally, because I have a metric shit ton of them. Anyway, but like I said, you can do the whole pelvic woo pose with Mike Gang, and then when we move on, he's got standard hip swivel, hip twist, hip blah blah blah, and then the skirt armor is on some ball joints, pretty standard shit. Which, the only gripe I have about the left, how, Coach, how when Mike Gang is about to pull out the Doreen Ken, that little pose he takes?
Yeah.
The side skirt armor can't exactly let you do that unless you finagle with the back skirt armor and then kind of swivel it up.
Huh.
Yeah.
So, I guess they made a mistake there.
I wouldn't call it a mistake. I'd just say that it's one of the major design flaws of not being made out of celluloid.
Yeah. I mean, and since it's kind of more show accurate and stuff, that's also a reason right there. And then we move on down to the hip pieces, where the leg attaches to the hip, the little hip joints and stuff. They are made out of solid die cast metal.
Mm.
Ooh.
Very And then another impressive thing is about the thigh pieces. With the thigh pieces, they are on a segmented leg, like a type of segmented plate where you can move it down and get some really good leg articulation. And it's got the standard double knee joints, nothing fancy there. But another thing that makes the figure impressive is around the shins, to where you can really pull off the Ichimonji Dorin Ken or any kind of crazy pose. There's a panel right around the shin that folds in and folds out, so you can really get some crazy posing with it.
It's beautiful.
Yes. Now, another thing that's disappointing that I found kind of about the toy was at the bottom of the feet. When it's if you ever seen Might Gain, Locomorizer has a set of spoilers. I know, why the fuck would the locomotive need a set of spoilers anyway? I mean, fuck.
Well, when you're going
Yeah,
that
that's kind of silly.
when you're going that fast, and I do actually know of some high-speed, experimental high-speed locomotives that do have something that would amount to a spoiler on them, although it's certainly not as explicit as the one on my unit. It's simply because when you're going at that high and extreme speed, depending on the design of the engine, you're probably going to have a little bit of lift. Now, the reason you don't see this too much in more conventional locomotives is because, for one, despite their traveling at high speeds, they don't really have very lift-worthy designs. But still,
They would need to produce a large quantity of lift in order to actually separate themselves from the track,
right?
simply because of the weights involved.
Well, they were.
Flying
this isn't-
prey.
Well, this isn't a matter of really separating themselves from the track. It's a matter of, as you start to go at higher speeds, then you lose grip because of the little bit of lift that is resulting from that.
So thus, you need the spoilers to maintain the grip.
Theoretically.
Okay, I got you now. But hey, fun fact: if you see Might Gain, then since we're talking about trains and planes and shit, Might Wing, the left arm piece, I think, it turns into a jet.
Ooh.
Yeah, I figured since we're talking about lift, drag, and rotation, I might as well mention that hey, the train turns into a plane.
Okay, so there's what the spoiler is, because what is a spoiler but an inverted wing?
Exactly.
True that.
Now, as I was saying, the one thing that I found kind of disparaging about the feet is that you really can't get any really decent, crazy foot ability like you can with the hinged ankles on most figure arts and stuff.
Yeah.
Because of the spoiler pieces and more or less the bottom half of the leg pieces and shit. Another thing that's interesting about this toy is that, like most Super Robot Chigokins, the lower legs and certain parts of the body are in die-cast metal. The legs on down to the feet, die-cast metal. Now, I think I've just about covered every. Oh wait, no. And little backpack, little jetpack on his back, little the verniers, the little jet things, they move up and down.
Oh, that's good.
It's
Ooh.
That is very good.
Now you're wondering, well, wait a second. Why are you talking about the toy? Why don't you go on the accessories? Okay, I guess so. Anyway, the accessory count is as follows. Let's see here. You've got pointing finger, which you can use for pointing, or the pose that Might Gain does when he says, "This signal light shines green for peace." He comes with closed fist, spliced hands, like the spliced hands. Is that the right term? I think.
Splayed, possibly.
Splayed. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, splayed hands. And grippy things hands. I blame Vangelis for giving me that term, that bastard.
Grippy things hands.
Grippy things hands.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I'm quite familiar with that term, but I'd definitely say I'm familiar with the parts. I've got a Master Grade Cubelay Mark II, and it comes with 3 sets of hands. It's got the fully articulated posable fingers one. I've my cousin very affectionately rearranged it to be given the peace sign.
I figured it'd
yeah.
be like giving a finger or something.
This is Peru. This is Peru we're talking about. And it's got the posable hands. It's got the just the splayed out hands. And it's got the gripping hands, the latter of which are actually needed to hold on to the beam sabers. So I can see why that would be necessary if you're going to want that amount of detail. Although I'm assuming that in this thing's case, it doesn't have fully articulate fingers.
No, just spliced and spliced, grippy, closed point. And
right.
And when I first saw the pictures for Might Gain, the Super Robot Chigokin Might Gain, I only saw one of the swords, and that was the charged up Dorian Kin. And then as more photos emerged, we got four swords. We've got 2 charged Dorian Kins,
Mm-hmm.
1 normal Dorian Kin, and my personal favorite, and Rachel and Kochi knows what I'm talking about, the classic Obari sword pose sword.
Ah, yes. Yes, the Obari pose.
Yes. Which you can do because of this thing's crazy articulation. And then another thing is that it comes with a, oops, I put the wrong hilt on there, or handle. Let's put the long handle on there. Anyway, another handle that it comes with is a combined handle, so you can take both charged Dorian Kins and you can put them together to where you have a double charged Dorian Kin. And the amazing thing about the other two swords, like the Obari sword and the normal sword, is that you can do the same thing too. You can detach them and then reattach them and just go crazy with them. But the cool thing about the about charged up swords is that, oh yeah, I forgot one little tiny part, and that is an alternate face part, which is cool because you can take off Might Gain's helmet, like little crazy helmet things, and then you can take off the lower. Oops, I pulled off the neck piece. I don't want to do that. And you pull off that lower piece of the head, and you come with a face open piece.
Nice.
Very nice. I can just
Face open.
yes,
Ah.
to where you can do 2 really cool poses. One where you can do the startup pose where Might Gain does the face mask on, showing Maito inside of the cockpit, or you can do the pose he takes at the final episode of Might Gain, which I'm not going to spoil, because then you'd be like, oh man, Ash, why are you going to be spoiling shit, dude?
I mean, we're
Well,
already
yes,
going to be
we've
spoiling
got
enough.
spoilers later. Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Like, man, why you got to be spoiling shit, Ash? I didn't know it was in the review. Oh yes, and I almost forgot. It comes with 2 soft plastic side. What the hell are those things called on the side of Might Gain's helmet? Like side antenna, or what the fuck are they? I don't even know what the hell they are. There's
And I got
They're the little side thingy flaps.
things.
Yeah, those.
side head things. They're soft vinyl plastic. Which at first I was like, what the hell am I gonna do with these? And then you realize they're great because the ones that come on the actual head are made out of solid plastic. So you can pull those off or pull one off and replace them. You can do like really fancy poses without having to worry about breaking the side antenna.
That's true.
But yes, and I forgot to mention that if you did manage to order your Might Gain, that it not only comes with the figure, all the accessories and shit, but it also comes with a special Trident Tamashii stage.
Good.
Now you're probably going, what the hell is a Trident Tamashii stage? Well, the Trident Tamashii stage is a 3-piece stage that has a really huge ass base, the Super Robot Chigokin logo on the front of it, like little sign logo you put on the front of it, and it's got 3 bases where you can put 3 Super Robot Chigokin figures on. As of right now, the only ones I've got for that is Might Gain and Mazinger Z. But and on top of that, Might Gain comes with a special stand clip that you can fit under his butt.
Now, before we move on here, because we certainly seem to have covered pretty much all the essentials. Is there anything you're looking for in particular to get for that that 3rd slot?
Go.
Of course.
One thing I gotta ask though about what are the dimensions of it? Like how tall is it and all that?
Well, roughly he's about a little bit taller than your standard SH Figure Arts toy. About roughly shit.
Very accurate
Yeah.
measurements there.
Like, shit.
um, let's say you stand next to it over by the ground. About how far up your leg does it come?
I would say roughly it comes past your ankle. Like I would say the legs. I can get up and do that right now. I can do that right now
Okay.
because I got my foot right next to me. So I would say that if I were to put him like the base of my foot up, I would say that he is pointing finger is at the ankle. So, or we could say that the ankle where it stops is at the thigh stop at the ankle.
So we're looking at something about 6 to 8 inches tall.
I would say about 6 inches, 6, 7, probably, give or take.
All right.
But on the whole, I will say this. If you are listening to this and you are interested in getting into the Super Robot Chogokin line, I would highly, highly recommend this toy. Because this is a toy great for people getting into the line. You don't even need to know dick about Mike Gain. You just need to know that this is an awesome toy and that you have to have it. Because if you don't have a Super Robot Chogokin Mike Gain, you are only depriving yourself.
I suppose so.
On that lovely note, let's talk about some other forms of deprivation as we move into talking about Bandai. And
Bandai.
yes, I'm hinting at that. I'm hinting at some very specific things there because we've had some passionate opinions go back and forth between us here involving what the heck this company has been up to, a bit of their conduct as of late, and the general sort of love-hate relationship we have with them. Now let's get one thing perfectly clear. I only have things against how certain policies are done. I'm not about to go and bash the company and declare them to be, the worst thing since Apple or anything like that. I'm just gonna say that I do disagree with some of their corporate decisions, but I definitely don't disagree with the stuff they do actually churn out for us and make available to us, i.e. these very, very nice Gunpla that I have sitting right here.
Or the very nice Super Robot Chogokin, the Figure Arts line, and the recent one, isn't the Armor Girls project the most recent one they've done?
I think that's in terms of how long all these various lines have been around, I'd say that's the most recent. All right, so let's just get that absolutely perfectly clear. We don't outright hate Bandai.
No.
I have very little in the way of an opinion on Bandai.
While I can't say I outright hate Bandai, I also can't say that I like them either.
Well, right. I mean, in your case especially, and to some extent in all of our cases, it's a matter of we really do gotta deal with it in some cases. But
I suppose now would be a good time to stop beating around the bush and get into the meat of it.
Well,
specifically, this thing that Bandai did that has us all angry. If I may elaborate.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
So, a little while back, Gundam Unicorn saw a big release, and everyone was like, oh my god, it's a new UC project. It's going to be amazing. And it
Did I hear that right? Gundam Unicorn?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, a little bit of clarification.
For you.
Yeah, a little bit of clarification here. Gundam Unicorn started out as a novel series, a light novel series, and it's been serialized for not just anime release, but full-on original video animation release, which is basically the same as a TV anime, except it's going to last shorter, but has much, much, much higher production qualities as a result.
Yeah.
Animation looks a lot slicker and all that.
Oh yeah.
Plus, haven't they big?
But the reason they call the series Unicorn is because the titular Gundam of the series, its initial form is kind of a very iconoclastic Gundam. It's very simple, very white, and it's got one horn. You know, it looks more like a GM with a Zaku's Commander antenna. I have the OVA version of the Master Grade right here, and this one I wouldn't say it's for starters by any means, especially starters of the MG line, simply because
Oh yeah.
No, sir.
of all these moving panels here. But those moving panels are what gives it its charm. It goes into destroy mode and becomes this rather fearsome white and red thing with a giant single V fin and all sorts of neat stuff about it. So
Yes.
that's
the single horn splits into the V fin.
Now,
right, and that's what we're on about when we're talking about Gundam Unicorn. Is we're talking about this series that kind of takes place. Yeah, I'm gonna assume that most of our listeners out here know about their Gundam. It takes place in the intervening years after. That's why I said most. It kind of takes place in the years after Char's counterattack, but still a long ways before F91. So
now I know exactly what we're talking about.
I mean, who the hell hasn't seen
But yes.
counterattack?
So we've got this Gundam Unicorn, and it's fucking amazing.
It is amazing. It's got these great great figure lines, great toy lines, and well, the episodes have been a lot of fun to watch. Any legitimate criticism aside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they release it in nice, shiny, amazing Blu-ray DVD.
Which I'm still
Now,
not entirely sold on, but I could totally see why people would love that.
here's the thing about Blu-ray. You see, there's how DVDs and all that have regions and the like. Blu-ray has the same thing. But in the case of Blu-ray, it has far fewer regions. You see, the Blu-ray region of both Japan and North America is the same. What this basically means is that someone in Japan could import an American Blu-ray and watch it on their Blu-ray player, just as someone in America could import a Japanese Blu-ray and play it on their Blu-ray player.
That's been the case with DVDs for a while, if I remember correctly. Let me see if I still got it. Oh yeah, I do. I've got a Japanese release of Samurai Champloo, and it totally works.
See, I've never owned any kind of imported DVDs or anything like that. I mean, the only, like I said, the only kind of import that I actually own is figures and toys. That's about it.
I've got a shop near me that sells imported stuff, so that's how I get it. It's more expensive than even ordering online, since in addition to all the import costs, you've got the retail markups as well.
Oh yeah.
Well, rub it in, Tochi, okay? Just rub it in.
My point is, you're buying the stuff offline, and you're paying more than me, so be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, we've got these shiny Blu-rays, and, same region and all that shit. Now, here's the thing. Bandai Japan saw this and realized a possible problem. You see, the difference between buying anime in America and Japan is, well, price-wise, is huge.
Like,
you're looking at something like maybe Japanese, they'll pay like, I want to say, equivalent US dollars 10 to 15 per episode, if I remember correctly. Here in America, we'll pay $2 to $6 per episode.
So it's invariably cheaper in the States.
Oh, yes.
So wait a second. How is this? I'm not trying to sound like a rude asshole here, but I'm failing to see the problem. I'm not trying to sound like a douche, but I'm just confused and lost.
Retzel's a dramatic fellow. He's building up to it.
Yes. You see, the problem is this. Japan doesn't want the anime watchers in Japan, be they otaku or more casual individuals, to import American Blu-ray DVDs. Because, over here in America, they're looking at probably 40% to half the cost of what it would cost in Japan.
So technically, Japan's just anally butt mad that we're selling cheaper DVDs than them.
Not precisely Japan. Let's get this clear. It's not Japan that's anally butt mad that we're getting the cheaper DVDs, because they're buying the cheaper DVDs. It's Bandai that's anally butt mad that Japan isn't spending more on the DVDs in Japan than us Americans are, and that as a result of this, the Japanese are buying the American DVDs.
Which leads me to the incredible douche move that Bandai Japan pulled. Because of, Japanese buying their DVDs for cheaper, they decided to close Bandai Entertainment, which is the medium through which they were releasing their products in North America. So
this seems, just to cut in for a moment, seems like a perfectly plausible commercial move. They were releasing a product that they were competing against with themselves with a cheaper analog, and are simply removing the cheaper analog from the supply. They're providing supply. Demand in the States is such that they're getting 40% to 50% of the cost they would in Japan. So they're deciding to, if I'm following you, simply make sure that they can continue to turn a profit by not producing an equivalent product that requires the same amount of overall labor that would sell at half to 2/5 the price.
Now, another thing that I'm going to go on and say is that the reason, from what I can read up here, is that never mind. That's not the point I was looking at. Yeah, I can't really find any explicit reasoning statements from Bandai as to why they would do this. They just sort of said that they're going to focus on distributing stuff that's under their license into being licensed by other production companies. So the way the restructure looks like when they stopped offering the Blu-ray, the DVD, Blu-ray, and manga releases, and the reason I think this is because it's the manga releases that are really telling this, not just the region locked stuff. I feel as though this division of the company, Bandai Entertainment, which is the North American-based subsidiary, as we said, was falling under hard times. It just feels like they weren't getting the proper amount of what was going on, either due to the fact that a lot of the series, other than Unicorn, of course, released by Bandai, were either being bought elsewhere, or they simply weren't making enough money off of those series. So I don't really feel as though they've done it specifically to increase profits or anything like that. I think it's so that they can avoid taking in bad stock. Because another thing they're doing is as with a lot of other North American anime distributors. They're offering a fan support program which facilitates public screenings of licensed content at various clubs and anime conventions across the country. So they still have that going, and and all you have to do is pay up for the guys to, fill in their labor costs. It's basically a live version of streaming anime, but with all of the content and all of the proper quality there.
Well, yes. Now, I can accept all of that. But what really has me pissed off is they're still doing the English dub of Gundam Unicorn, and it's being included in the Japanese Blu-ray release. But here's the thing: in order for us to watch Unicorn, we have to import it. There is no other option.
So wait a second. The English dub of Unicorn is included in the original import version. And
this isn't uncommon. I've got, like I said, my Samurai Champloo DVDs are Japanese, but they've got the dub on them.
Well, on top of that, they've also done that a few times with a couple of the Ultraman movies, like with Ultra Galaxy. They had English subtitles on it, so that was pretty. And I think they did the same thing for Revenge of Belial too. And I don't know if they're doing the Saga by the end of October. We'll have to see. But it just seems kind of. Well, I mean, yeah, I can understand that they're actually trying to make up for us having cheaper DVDs and stuff, and that they want to actually make some more money off of it. But in a sense, I feel as though it's what's the best word? Yeah, fucking stupid. There we go.
Here's the thing: people in America, we're not going to pay those, at least by my standards, insane DVD prices.
Now, what do you mean by insane DVD prices?
Yeah, give us a ballpark here.
Well, if as he said, it's about $10 an episode, then for your average series, that's say around about 50 episodes or so. Unicorn's much shorter, but for your average, although Unicorn also has the higher production value, so aren't they charging like $60 an episode?
Charging, I believe, $70 or either 70 or 80 per episode of Unicorn.
And this in an age where you can get the DVDs for all 50 episodes of Gundam Wing, all 49 of Gundam Wing for $55.
I don't see how such a price could be maintained and distributed to anyone but an extremely core audience. That seems like something that would be very price elastic, meaning as you vary the price, you get more people buying it or fewer people buying it, depending on which direction you went. That simply does not seem like a move or a price point that could be supported by the overall DVD industry at large.
Right. This is something that I don't feel is any reason to piss me off so much as it raises my does not compute alarm. There's plenty of other ways aside from DVDs.
They simply don't want to make money.
I mean, there's plenty of other ways aside from DVDs.
I would disagree with that. The core purpose of any company is to make money. The question is whether or not we view the means that they're attempting to employ to make money as viable or not.
Now, the only thing that really honestly chaps my ass about Bandai is, aside from the whole, oh my god, Unicorn, and they're marking up shit, or fucking import DVDs. No, the one thing that pisses me off the most about Bandai is their Tamashii web shop.
Now, this is going to be something that I do have to say is a bit of an issue. What they're doing is with that. You want to explain what that is, Ass?
Well, anyway, the Tamashii web shop is an exclusive web shop where they sell exclusive items. Take for instance, SH Figuarts Genocider that's coming out. That's a web shop item. A web shop item is something you can only get on the web shop. Now you're wondering, oh wait a second, I'll just go on the web shop and order it. Wrong.
Oh.
Sorry, Dirty Baka Gaijin, you can't order off the Tamashi web shop. Fuck you! Thanks,
So,
Bandai.
what's keeping anyone from ordering off this website?
They have to live in the, I think in the Japanese country in order to order off the Tamashi web shop. The Tamashi...
Japanese
Do
country.
they?
As opposed
Do
to
they
living in
have-
Japan.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Do they have a site for North America?
No.
And yeah, that's the big thing, is there's a couple of companies that have done this sort of thing, and it's just unilaterally a bunch of wasted potential. I mean, certainly they're probably trying to protect limited edition items due to manufacturing costs and whatnot, but, I mean, hello, you've got all these people over here in North America and around the rest of the world. I can think of a certain Chilean friend who would be into this, and there's all these people who are willing to buy this, who are actively saying, shut up and take my money, and meantime this shop is saying,
Hello?
Nope. Well, nope. But,
Yep.
It's just motherfucking maddening. I mean, there are so many Tamashi web shop items that I want that I will never be able to afford.
well,
take
unless
for
you
ins-
decide to change your computer's region or something like that, but...
Well, it's not that. You actually have to have an address, or you have to be a resident of Japan in order to actually order off this web shop. And I've done it before. I've tried. It will not let you.
Huh.
And the only way, there's a few ways you can get items from the web shop. There's middlemen, which is a Yokata, some writer fangirl thing, fucking Goman writer, no. Some writer chick.
People in Japan that buy off the website and send to the States.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then there's other websites like Big Bad Toy Store. They do some middlemaning. There's Mandrake. If you haven't been to Mandrake, you need to go. It's a great fucking site. I'm plugging you, Mandrake. Plugging you. Anyway, and that's the only way that you can actually order these items. Or if you go to a convention or some other bullshit like that. Bleh.
Well, I mean, don't talk too much smack about conventions. They're actually my big gunpla mark, because conventions, oddly enough, seem to be, and I'm pretty convinced that Bandai's not too concerned with their DVD sales as much as they are with their model kit sales, because conventions are a gigantic toy box, especially for gunpla people who can buy all of their stuff without the massive retail markups.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now,
Conventions are the only place I get Gunpla.
And the thing that just literally kills me about the web shop is that, like I said, if you want the items at the web shop, you're going to be paying buku bucks. Okay? Take, for instance, the pre-order for the Kamen Rider 4's Module Set 5, which is an exclusive. It shouldn't be, but it is. The Module Set 5 pre-order price on Big Bad Toy Store is $130. That is the price. $30 off from a 3DS. A fucking all I need is $30 more, and I could buy a 3DS. I could buy a 3DS with that much.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, they could have made this just a regular release item, because there's a lot of modules on here that people want, like stamp, gyro, giant shoe, board, ice, hand, net, scoop, screw.
Let's save the ultra specifics for when we actually get to talking about Forza. And in the interest of time, I know we could probably go for hours on how much of a bad decision keeping these websites
Yeah, to
exclusive
do a quick
is.
summary of what has happened here is, for some reason beyond our comprehension, Bandai isn't going to release their exclusive website's store to Western release. And it seems they're doing something incredibly illogical regarding the release of their DVDs.
They're also doing a number of illogical things when it comes to writing new series. Everyone pretty much knows that Gundam, the whole franchise, is Bandai's flagship. Making a new series is like printing money for them.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
something I really have to wonder is, the hell were they thinking with Gundam Age?
Then try something new.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, yes, it's true. Yes, it's true. Something new is usually welcome, especially after we're getting rehash after rehash storyline-wise. But
and Seed,
as I point to Gundam Seed as a whole.
Yes.
Well, Gundam Seed wasn't entirely a rehash as much as it was just a complete fuck up from the beginning. We can probably have an entire webcast on that. But for right now, what I'll mention about Age is that the story of Age does sort of tie into what had gone on at Bandai with Gundam Seed, based on some comments that the director of Seed, Fukuda, made during a interview at an anime convention here in North America. Something he said was that he didn't initially care about getting a job like that too much, and that he only took up directing Gundam Seed because nobody else at Bandai would. And then there's all these other stories about how it was an incredibly stressful process trying to get it all put together, and that how after it was all done, the only thing he wanted to do was go home and sleep. So this answers a lot of those strange questions about what were they thinking involving Seed, and also what the heck was going on with Age. And it's made me come to believe that for whatever reason, because they're only focusing on getting ideas from certain people, Bandai is somewhat desperate when it comes to Gundam, or they're just not properly exploiting their resources as much as they can. But a lot of the moves that have been made point to quite a few signs of desperation. Now, I do know that when we get to material like 00, we saw massive improvements. Say what you will about the second season and the movie. I quite liked the second season, didn't care for the movie, but that...
They never made a 00 movie. It doesn't exist.
It exists.
But if it did, the only decent character in that movie would have been Mr. Bushido.
Or the giant space flowers. I think they had a lot of potential. Yeah, the point we're trying to make is that Awakening of the Trailblazer wasn't horribly good.
But it wasn't horribly bad. It was.
It was just sort of, I guess the reason there's so much butthurtitude about it was because, the first half of the series, and for the most part the second half as well, the TV series was so good, and they just messed it all up.
Yes. Well, back on the subject of Age.
Right. What they did with Age was basically the head of a video game company wrote his own Gundam fan fiction, and then Bandai approached him and said, "Hey, can we make an anime out of this?" That's no great trade secret. That's exactly what they said from the very beginning when they announced the series.
Huh. So it's the fanfic turned into its own show.
Yes, and a fan fiction written by the president of Level freaking 5 of all things. Okay, I'm not.
And they have excellent animation. I'll definitely say that.
I mean, let's get this out. Let's get this out of the way while Ass is in hysterics. The animation is, for the most part, one of the major selling points of Age. I do remember. I do remember the first time I sat down and watched that first episode, which was, for the most part, more action-based than anything else, and it was a pretty damn good watch. You compare it to other earlier things, such as Seed, for instance, which was absolutely derptastic, where all the flashiness hides obvious recycling and pathetic CGI.
Well, the recycling Seed didn't come in until a little bit later. In the beginning, it wasn't so much recycled animation.
Well, in the beginning, that was just setting a precedent for all the recycling that would take place. And I can and will totally point out later on actual scenes where in the early part of the series where material was recycled. But let's not talk too much about Seed.
Didn't they? Well, one last thing. Didn't they actually have one in this whole collage of the recycled scenes?
Yep.
I have a video that puts together the recycled scenes, and there are entire sequences where you have about 20 individual screens all showing what looks to be the exact same thing.
When we get this finished up, you have to post that link so everybody can know what the fuck we're talking about.
Totally.
Oh yeah.
But back
Anyway.
to Age. What seems to have happened?
Yes, back on the subject of Age.
Age.
Back on the funniest fucking thing I've ever heard.
Well, the thing with Age is that another one of its big selling points was that it's this whole going for multiple generations thing, and at first we figured, okay, that sounds like a cool idea, and we'll talk about the look of it, but the look of it, I don't like the art for it, especially with the way the characters look and how overtly cartoonish it is. I'm not gonna go out on a limb and say that it looks too much like this kind of style, so I hate it because of that. I'm gonna say I don't like it because I don't like the look of it. It doesn't look like something that would appeal to me regardless of what the anime was.
Kind of like how Beast Machines is with me.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
but
it's a matter of personal preference.
Right, and but I will say that with that kind of a look, which is very much in line with how Level 5 does their games, we went into this a little bit apprehensive. So, let's get ourselves some impressions of how generation by generation, including the third one, which we're kind of in right now. Once again, spoiler warnings, so be advised. First generation.
The series yet, so this is going to be fun for me.
Hey. All right, first generation. How do we feel about that?
First generation. He was an okay main character, and the supporting cast was a bit lacking, aside from the captain of the ship, Grobek, and the ace pilot, Wolf. Their supporting cast was, I felt, a bit lacking.
Yeah, the thing about the first generation of Age was that it all felt kind of underdone, but it did have all of its cool moments, bolstered mainly by the action scenes and some pretty good MS designs, even though.
Now, if I remember right, didn't Obari actually have a hand in helping out with this, like some of the action scenes and stuff?
I don't think so.
I don't believe so.
I never saw his name in any of the production notes.
I could have sworn he had done something. Oh well.
Maybe for Unicorn. Some of that stuff screams Obari.
Yeah.
To finish up my opinion on Age Gen 1, it wasn't great, but it was okay. It set things up for the amazingness that was Generation 2.
Generation 2 was a lot better. I mean, it just felt like there was more interesting things there was more interesting things going on. We got to see how, despite getting older, and I will say this, I never did like the transitions between generations. They always felt jarring to me. But
I thought you only watched Age up to the end of Gen 1.
No, I watched through a large portion of Gen 2, dropped it for a while because of my abject frustration, and then just sort of started to pick it up again, and subsequently drop it again. But we'll get to that. But we'll get to that point later on. For the most part, Gen 2 was a pretty major improvement.
What's your opinion on Gen 1?
My opinion on Gen 1?
Yes.
It was, like I said earlier, it was mostly a passable pile of blandness with some cool action scenes.
So it was so if I had to gauge it, it was mostly meh to it's pretty cool.
I'd give it a 6.
Okay, yeah.
All
right.
Yeah.
But even more about the second gen, I only know what has been talked about him and everything. It's like free to
M is a horrible place to go to for talking about Age, since for whatever
Oh,
reason,
yeah.
the people that actually enjoy the show can't stop talking about all of the various relationship drama going on.
Oh, hey, shipping! Woo!
It was so bad in first generation. And
Yes.
it was just really starting to get to the point of, Inuyasha fangirl levels, and that's why I really
It was pretty bad. And one thing that I found really amusing is M would a new character would come in, and they'd within a few episodes predict, oh, this guy's gonna die or he's going to live. Example is Flit's secondary love interest, a girl named Yurine, who pretty much everyone predicted from episode 1, oh, she's gonna die. And spoiler, she did.
exactly. That's it. Just
Don't
felt
you love that shit.
It just felt, as though it was plotted. Because here's the thing about Level 5. They make good games. They're known for their gameplay, not their storylines. The storylines are usually pretty generic, and going into Generation 1, I felt that that's exactly what we were looking at, was a Level 5 video game without the video game.
Hey, didn't they actually make an Age video game anyway?
No, that was what he was... I mean, they did, but that was what...
Actually, yeah, they did make an Age game, but that's a whole other topic altogether.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, of course they're going to make video games out of this stuff. It's probably where you're
Yeah.
going to want to have the most fun with it.
Yeah.
But Generation 2 was a lot better. The reason I ended up dropping it when I did was because, as I said, can't stand the art, and it just got to a point where I had to look back and say, I know the storyline's getting a lot better, but I am just forcing myself to watch this.
So kind of like me having to actually, force myself through the entire season of Beast Machines. It's like, it's got to get better. It has to get better. Then when you finally get to the whole organic bullshit and Optimus being some sort of Buddhist Jesus robot thing, and Megatron's like, ha ha ha, I want Cybertron. You're just like, fuck it, I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But Gen 2 turned out to be a pretty good improvement. And then I started hearing a bunch of people talk about Gen 3 and Action Grandpa Flit. So I figured, all right, I'll check this out.
Yes.
I remember that. That was
Flit
some
Optional,
bullshit.
Action Grandpa. I
Yes,
made that image macro, actually.
It does have Action Grandpa Flit, but that is all.
Yeah.
Age Gen 3
That's
is...
actually something I think I should bring up, is characters from previous generations show up in the next generation. For example, as I give my whole spiel on my opinion on Gen 2,
Okay.
the communications officer from the ship that Age is on, the Diva, ended up becoming the captain in Gen 2 as a somewhat kind of between middle-aged and old-age woman. And she made an excellent captain.
Give me the boner.
Yes, she was an excellent captain, just like her predecessor.
Yeah.
However, her successor, well, I'll get to that in a bit. Anyway, the supporting cast of Gen 2 was significantly better than Gen 1. Supporting characters from Gen 1 showed up in Gen 2. The big one being Wolf, as a pretty manly-looking middle-aged guy.
Didn't Wolf die?
Yes, he died, and I kind of saw it coming, but it wasn't a death that necessarily pissed me off. It wasn't a death that I was like, oh, bah, the usual bull crap.
It was more like, well, fuck.
Did it actually advance things? I mean, would you say it advanced things?
Yes, it was a major. His death was a major part of the second main character, Asem. I really don't think it's Asemu. That name just sounds silly. But Asem's character development, a very big part of it was Wolf's death.
Right, and
which directly after Wolf's death led to the single best moment in Gundam Age thus far, where Asem announces himself to be a super pilot, or in Japanese, Super Pirato. Basically, actually that's something I didn't bring up from Gen 1. Flit and his grandson, Kyo, the main character of Gen 3, are what's called X-Rounders, which are basically
they're
new
type clones. You know, the usual sort of. That's another thing I just sort of waved my hand at, was the whole X-Rounder thing. You know, they're trying to come up with all sorts of lore and things regarding it, but it's just sort of whatever.
The thing about Asem, though, he is not an X-Rounder. However, he's able to beat several rather skilled X-Rounders in combat. Among them, a kid named, okay, not kid anymore, but a middle-aged guy named Diesel, who was in Gen 1, he was a kid, maybe a bit younger than Flit. And because of Diesel, Urine died. And Asem was pissed off when Diesel killed Wolf. So that put him into super rage, where he announced himself as a super pilot and totally annihilated Diesel, killing him.
Right.
Basically, his dad's mortal enemy, gone. But yes, overall, Gen 2, it's definitely the best out of the generations thus far, but not without its problems. Among them, a girl named Romary Stone, who simply cannot choose which man she wants to get with. Does she want to get with Asem, or Asem's friend, who's actually a spy of the enemy? What was his name? Zehato? I'll just call him the Heart. And, of course, in the end, she ends up getting with Asem, but it was a forced love triangle. And I thought it was total bullshit. But everything else regarding Gen 2, it was good.
Yeah, romance subplots.
8 out of 10.
Romance subplots usually suck. I mean,
unless it's the main plot. In the case of, say, Macross.
By definition, isn't it not a subplot if it's the main plot?
Exactly.
Well, yeah.
That's why the romance subplots always suck, because it always just boils down to the simplest of things. If you actually give it enough attention and let the characters either explore each other or bounce off each other, in the case of more humorous areas, then you're going to have yourself a successful scenario. But if you just keep going for Kamen Rider Kiva style melodrama, then it just falls flat. But now let's get into Gen 3 now.
3.
Yeah. With Flit Action Grandpa.
Which, like I said,
Flit is an old man.
And that's him and his old man antics, pretty much the only redeeming thing of what's going on.
No, wait a second.
No, not quite.
Isn't Flit Action Grandpa more like Gray Stork from Frostbone?
With Bascome's goggles, yes.
Yeah, that's pimp.
So, Gen 3. I'll be honest here, I haven't watched up to date in Gen 3. I apologize for that. But I got a bit to catch up on. I think about 7 episodes. But anyway, how I mentioned Asem Asuno, Super Pirato. He becomes a pirate in Gen 3.
Yeah, what's up with that shit?
No, to be clear here, you mean a pirate as in someone who like steals ships and loots their cargoes for profit, and not like pilot just mangled pronunciation because LR confusion.
No,
Actually,
this is
both.
he did become
He's
he was a
both
super pilot. He was a super
and a
pilot in
space
second
pirate.
gen, and he became a space pirate in third gen.
Yep. Thus the Pirato. Yeah. It's slightly amusing LR
Get it
confusion.
now.
It's extreme deadpan humor, and I guess it'd be funny if it was handled better, but
I don't think it was an intentional joke in the case of Japan. It's just something us Americans came up with. But anyway, Gen 3. Oh. Starting off, the captain of the Diva, the ship that carries the Age Gundam around, her name irks me. Her name is Natora Anus. Yes,
not.
Anus.
Which is basically
I
my word
heard
for
that name and I couldn't help but facepalm.
Not wait. What's your name again?
Um,
That's what
I think Natura Anus.
the issue with her, aside from the goofy name, is
She's a terrible captain.
exactly. You know, you
However,
go from
here's
you go
thing.
from the usual badass man dude to equally badass woman to generic
Yeah.
non-independent woman stereotype.
Oh, she's a Mary Sue.
Well, here's the thing, though.
No, not even a Mary.
They-
Not even a Mary Sue. She's helpless.
The thing is, the Federation intentionally put her in charge of the Diva because they didn't really even care about that ship or the Age Gundam anymore. So they just what's the word? Put together a ragtag group of misfits. And for the most part, they were a ragtag group of misfits. And the captain, she was a terrible captain. And part of the reason I think that they were able to survive so long is because Action Grandpa Flick Asano was there to help them out.
Basically, the thing about Gen 3 is that the purported main character of it, Kyo, doesn't really have much going for him. And as a result, everybody on the Diva has to be reliant on Action Grandpa Flit to get them through everything. So
initially, yes.
Wait, does
Kyo does start growing into his own and is able to fight for himself and pretty well.
So wait a minute.
They're also starting to go with Gen 3. You know, I stopped watching just before this sort of thing started happening, but they started to go down the whole understanding route again.
Ah, yes.
Understanding.
Rather than, fight a war, defeat your enemy, understand your enemy and lead to, a diplomatic solution, which I suppose now I should bring up the main enemy of Gundam Age, originally called the UE, or Unknown Enemy. They are, in fact, humans who are the result of a failed Mars colonization plan that were basically left to die by the Federation.
You alright there?
Yeah, I'm good.
So they were a failed Mars colony that was left to die by the Federation. The UE /Vagans, they always bugged me.
Vegan.
they always bugged me to no end. Because, it started off as, okay, we're gonna have Gundam facing off against aliens. Kind of out of the
And I was
blue.
like,
Kind of
wow,
out of the blue.
this is new.
Kind of out of the blue, and a step
No,
back from
it
what
turns
we
out
used to be
to be
from what we used to be doing, but so that it might be cool. Nope, just turns out to be humans, and the whole alien thing was just a sham. And
Yeah.
the alien part bugged me. The fact that they were humans bugged me because I was well prepared for them to be this legitimate strange alien enemy. And then what they turned out to become just bugged me as well.
But yeah. Gun Age and Gen 3, yeah, the vegan. They want to return to Earth. And, well, basically return to Earth, take it over, because the Federation by Gen 3 is kind of corrupt.
Right, they're going the whole UC route again, and that's another thing. What really bugged me about it was, here we are going down Rehash Street again.
But yeah, the whole idea of understanding and reaching a diplomatic solution, it will not work for the Vegans. They want to return to Earth. The Federation does not want them there. Understanding is not going to work.
They understand. Here's the thing.
They're going to make it work in some contrived way.
Here's the thing and yes, that's pretty much obviously going to happen given the way things have gone in the past. But here's the thing: the reason it doesn't work is because they already understand each other perfectly well. That's why any form of diplomacy has failed, and they're at war. It's not like in How to Train Your. It's not like in How to Train Your Dragon where there's a species difference and they haven't really reached out to each other at all at that point. It's you have these people who know full well that they exist and know full well the motivations behind each other. They know each other really, really well. That's why they don't like each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
If you're gonna portray a believable war story, you may as well just go with the usual standby where you've got your friends and you've got your enemies, maybe some friends on the enemy side. That does make for some neat little points, and you have your understanding take place after there's a clear victor. That way you don't get any strange plot contrivances that make no sense, or of course infamous flawless victory poses.
Destiny.
Remind me of Destiny. But yeah.
Flawless
victory. Let's wrap this up.
Yeah.
Basically,
yeah.
Age. It's a mixed bag. I'd say watch it, but don't spend money on it.
If I were to rate Age overall, I'd put it at 6.5.
I wouldn't never rate it because I haven't seen it yet.
Exactly. I'd give it a 5.5 because whilst the first generation doesn't piss me off plot wise, the second generation is awesome plot wise, and the third generation really drags the whole thing down. What drags Age down for me the most is, once again, I find the art hideous. So it's just in my case, the whole thing is just really hard to watch.
Yep.
So roughly overall, we can say that it's okay.
It's
worth watching.
Okay. Anyway,
it's better than Seed.
Oh God, yes. Anything's better than Seed.
Well,
anyway.
Yeah. It's better than Seed, but I still wouldn't say it's anything that's. The way I see myself looking at Gundam Age in 10 years is thinking, oh yeah, that existed. It's pretty forgettable, honestly.
I mean, when people probably talk about it like 5 years from now, Gundam Age, it's okay.
Yeah.
But anyway, Let's talk. Oh, go ahead.
And that's where it really belongs. It's not like Seed, where it's a cumulative analysis of how to botch everything, get it wrong, and still be annoyingly successful, sort of like Nickelback. But it just screams. It's not lousy. I wouldn't call it lazy, but it's very half-baked. Everything.
Mediocre.
No, not mediocre either, but
for the way guys describe it, it seems okay at times, and then it has its good stuff. So it's good to. I'll watch it.
It's sort of like me in this one Yes song, "Owner of a Lonely Heart," that big hit that they had in the '80s.
I remember that.
Oddly enough, I was listening to that on the way home from work.
Oh, wow.
The weird thing about me and that song, because I'm such a huge prog rock fan as I am, and, I should love that thing. It's a prog rock band from the 70s reinventing themselves in the jammin' synth the 80s style. I've listened to that several times, and I love the results that generate from that. You listen to the Rush album Power Windows and how just gigantic the whole thing is. That's great. And a lot of other songs on that same album, 90125, pretty damn good. The Owner of a Lonely Heart I've got a very, very mixed relationship with it. I find myself listening to it, but I find myself not liking it at times because of varying reasons. It's very, very complicated, but the thing that sets it apart from Age is that, one, it's not bogged down by bad art. Two, at the very least, it's memorable. It's memorably fascinating. Age, you can analyze it to hell, but it's not really that fascinating.
But, I mean...
Yep.
Either way, Age seems like something you'd probably watch on a... you'd watch on a whim. It's like, I'll check this out. It'll probably be good.
Yeah.
Yep.
And on a final note before we move out, the toy sales are abysmal for Age's material, and it's mainly because the mecha designs are not very good at all.
Now, hang on, I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I do happen to like a lot of the mechanical designs in Age, especially the Age 1. The Age 1's equipment packs, like the arm packs. Same thing for Age 2 and Age 3. I really do like those. I like the Geno Aces. Those are pretty cool. The G-Bouncer. G-Bouncer looks badass.
Fuck yeah, G-Bouncer.
Fuck yeah, G-Bouncer.
But all of the other units, aside from maybe the G-Bouncer and the Age units, are
They're either really
the UE units are... Some of them are... What the fuck am I looking at?
You had the original Gafran, which was the first thing we saw, and it looks like some generic dragon, like some generic kitty dragony robot. I mean, granted, it was a pretty cool thing to see, to look at this thing and think, wow, we're going to be facing up against dragons instead of Zaku's. This is going to be cool.
And they still held up with it, though, from what I've seen.
Well, right, but once again, as a mecha design, I don't really feel that it's really something I'd like. It's not something I'd like to own a model of. It's just, maybe if I do ever get into figures, a figure of it maybe, but it's certainly nothing I'd like to, put so much time in like the rest of my Gunpla, or it just doesn't have. I think what's really lacking in a lot of these units, and this is especially the case for me in the Age units because I don't like those very much, there's not enough charm to them. And it has nothing to do with the fact that, well, in Age 3's case, it does have to do with this. But for the others, it doesn't have anything to do with the fact that they do look like blatant rehashes of previous Gundams. Age 1 is basically the 78-2, except for the Spallow and Titus forms. Those are...
Sparrow. Just call it Sparrow.
Sparrow? Actually, I do like the Spallow. It's pretty damn nice. The revolvers on its arms and legs and shit.
Age 2, well, it's basically like the Zeta.
Age 2,
except for its double bullet form.
What?
I wouldn't call it the
The
Zeta
Age
so much
2
as
double... Then what would you call it?
It looks like they took a bunch of various elements from Double O and put them together, really.
Really?
Sounds about right, actually. Like, what's it, Kyrios Gundam. And,
Yeah.
it's kind of reminiscent of that. But the double bullet form was fucking amazing.
Well, yes. That's true. Now, Age 2 is probably my favorite among all of those. Now, Age 3, in role and in design, they are totally channeling the Fats from Gundam Sentinel.
Oh, God, yes.
And the reason I don't like that is because it's as if they're just dangling this half-baked design in front of my face while at the same time, hey, guess what? You're never going to see the thing this was based off of animated.
Well, the other thing is its most recent incarnation kind of reminds me of the V2.
What, the upgrade he got?
Color scheme wise.
Yeah. It's that, and that's really all I've got to say about Age. And I'm gonna just change the subject right now before I start trying to analyze exactly how I feel about this show. That leaves me not sure how to feel. We're going to talk about a show that I know exactly how to feel about.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What recently ended is a television show called Kamen Rider Fourze.
Ooh.
Fourze! Yeah!
Yep.
Now, for those unfamiliar, Kamen Rider is... Well, you should know most of you should know what Kamen Rider is. Most,
yes.
It's a series about these bug people that ride motorcycles and defeat monsters.
Well, people in bug-looking armor.
Yeah. Except for Forrest, he's based off an astronaut.
He's still got his compound eyes. He looks like an ant wearing a spacesuit.
You know, he kind of does, doesn't he?
Yep.
And I think that's what they were going for, especially since he's much more based in what he can do with the suit and all of the gadgets and stuff. Rather than be some other big time thing all on his own. Because something that's been the case with a lot of Kamen Rider series from the very beginning. You know, you started off with the first rider accidentally burning people with his cyborg hands and not feeling too good about that, or Kamen Rider Stronger, who had to wear gloves all the time or else he would shock you.
You were shocked.
You were shocked!
You've got all of these various things that do point to them having some kind of power ability outside of the suit, be it some kind of extension of the suit in your human form, or some kind of thing you have that sets you apart, like being amazingly good at cooking stuff. Or
for example, from Double, Philip being a gigantic library of all human knowledge.
Yeah, that was kind of odd. But I don't.
It was
know.
odd, but at the very least, they made it work because Double really captured a kind of fever pitch of both awesomeness and a feeling of danger.
And one last thing about Philip, yes, he's a guy.
Yeah, indeed, he's a guy, but give him so more. Anyway,
Anyway,
on to the things that
right, exactly.
Everybody.
The point I'm
loves.
going to make here is that most writers throughout history have some other things that in a battle sense, set them apart from their suits. In the case of Gentaro, he's got two big things: personality and hair.
Indeed.
And
Fabulous hair.
I mean, this isn't to knock him at all, but it does kind of mark him as being pretty special, because he's not some guy that's already good at brawling with people. He's not some guy that's part monster underneath, and that's how he's able to operate the suit or become the rider form. He's just some really friendly guy that really, really, really likes space.
Yeah. Along with his friend Yuki.
Right.
But
he's.
Oh, go ahead, Coach. I'm sorry.
But you feel, as a whole, his character just felt like this guy you'd very much want to be around and support, and that's what made him so effective as a hero in the general Kamen Rider kind of sense. Yeah, he wasn't some kind of undersung fellow that's taking on the rest of the world by himself. He's
got friends he's fighting for.
Right, and this is what the great success of Forze is all about. The big message is friendship, but it's not ham-fistedly played as being friendly McFrienderson friends, friendly friends.
Or, as you had said in one of my streams, a buzzword.
Right, it's not a buzzword. What it really is an examination of what it actually is, of why it actually is that makes friendship so important. And we do get a lot of scenes where they're talking about this, why they need to be hanging out together, united against the people they're fighting, and even in some other cases, why they should be fighting for a common goal, even if their means to an end are slightly different. It really does explain the importance of we're all gonna help each other out in our own way, and every single one of us is gonna benefit from it. I guess the better way to put it is that it's less about friendship in the simplest buzzwordy term, and more about community.
Huh. Never thought of it like that.
Coordination, specialization, that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, totally.
But what's cool is that if you ever, or the listeners ever actually decide to watch Forge, is that you'll notice that not everybody's together right at the get-go. They take a few episodes, I think 12 episodes to get everybody together, or actually get the main people together and then get Kengo to just come around and like, you know what, fuck it, man, we're friends.
Yeah, they start off with it's very similar to what happened in Kamen Rider V3 between V3 and Rider Man. You've got
V3, such a troll.
I know.
But
where is V3? I'm over here.
But it's a very good series, and it does explore a similar concept to this. With you've got V3, who's much like the first two riders before him, converted into this form and out fighting against a neo-Nazi menace.
Wait, that's what... I haven't watched V... That's what he fights?
Yeah.
Well, that's
wow.
That's generally what most of Shocker and the Shocker derivatives all are. They've got connections. I mean, they're not strictly neo-Nazis, but they've got their roots in Nazi organizations, according to Kamen Rider lore and various things. And that's why, especially in the first series, you get very explicit mentions of Nazi scientists and Nazi secrets.
Like the Nazi gold.
Yeah, being unearthed by Shocker to sort of go about their means. It's not like, say, in Hellsing, where you have this group of people that are trying to become a direct continuation of the Reich, but you have these people that they have ties back in that kind of thing. And I just use the term neo-Nazi.
The villains of Forze.
Oh, the Zodiarts.
Yeah.
Quick fact, if our listeners didn't know, the Zodiarts, the monster designs, are done by a very awesome guy by the name of Kia. I'm Amasia? Amayasia? I mean, yeah,
Just
yeah.
look it up online. Come up with a name for us.
All right, but overall, that's another good selling point of fours is the zodiac designs and the horoscopes.
Right. They have quite a bit of they have quite a bit of personality going for them, rather than looking like most tokusatsu villains, in which they just sort of glued a bunch of shit onto a tracksuit or came up with some ridiculous concept or CGI'd a T-Rex head on.
Or, in the case of, I believe it was Amazon or something.
Well, let's
that
not even let's not even get into Showa villains, because
I was just gonna bring up Starfish Hitler.
Oh God. Anyway, I gotta take a time out for a second. Keltane's got a bolt, so
Yep.
we do for Kel. I know you couldn't. It's kind of such you couldn't stay for the whole thing, but I do appreciate you coming to the thing, and you did a good job. Thank you for being our guest today.
And I think we're better off stopping it here anyway, even though there's plenty more that we can say about Forza. But we do have a lot of space that's been taken up. So
we can discuss more fours next time.
Yeah,
we can discuss it. Because we can discuss it in terms of what the next series is going to be, Kamen Rider.
Yes.
So that's
Wizard.
So look for that next week. Look for that next time we do MCAST, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be talking more about Forza and how it seems to be stacking up against this new series that's coming in. We'll also be discussing a little something called Mobile Suit in Action, and we'll be talking more about the mecha anime industry and whatever other nerdy things we can come about. So that's all the time we have for tonight on MCAST. For Ass, Red Cell, and Keltane, this is Kochiha Ichihara.